Welcome, everybody, to the Spring Loaded Football Podcast. My name is Colonel Brian Sutton. I'm an honorable Kentucky colonel. Um, I'm excited about this podcast. Going to talk about all kinds of spring league football. One of my co-hosts is with me today. Wayne, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. What about you, Brian?
I'm great. Excited about the podcast. Can't wait to get this thing started off. We've got another host. His name is Jared, and he will be here with us whenever he is available. But Wayne, what are we going to be covering on this podcast?
Well, we'll be covering the USFL, the new league coming in, fan control football, looking at some of that, the X League, which is formerly the Legends Football League and Lingerie Football League. And then we'll also be going into the past, looking at all the spring leagues and going through it.
And I can't wait. I think all these spring leagues is going to be good for just football fans in general. I can't wait to see the USFL. We're going to be there on opening day, and check us out for sure on the YouTube channel. We'll have some videos, and even on our Twitter accounts and other social medias. Make sure you check us out. We'll have some posts for sure while we're down there tailgating. But Wayne, what are you looking forward to this year, especially with the USFL?
With the USFL, just kind of seeing the uniforms, seeing what they're going to look like, the draft coming up next week, and mostly just getting to get back to games and going back in person to see everything since everything's been closed off the past few years.
Right, for sure. And I'm looking forward to just more football. I think that's a good
Yes.
thing. I think given these undervalued talent from the NFL and CFL and all forms of football, just an opportunity. And I think that's important, especially being on Fox and NBC. I think they can really make a name for themselves and maybe get back to the NFL if that's where they want to go.
Well, there's so many kids that get looked over that this gives some kids a chance to stand out.
Right. And I know, off camera we've talked about before, if the USFL lasts more than 1 year, I think it will be a success because you've got to get these. There's plenty of college talent that never make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
Probably 10 times more than what do, and this will be a chance for them to continue their playing career. Because you only have so many
Yeah.
years. Especially at the running back
Well, you
position
get
or something.
well if you can get the league to build up and get the brand started in a city, it'll take off in Alabama.
Right. I mean, Alabama's a
So,
football state.
mm,
I mean, as you can
but
see
they
with
want
my
to say something stay.
right. I mean, this state has been notorious for having leagues of many sports that come and go. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be the old USFL baseball teams, minor league teams, whatever. But
Yeah.
we're always usually number one in the TV market when it comes to football. More people in
Yeah.
Alabama watch football than anywhere else, and that's what's got me excited about going to the opening day game. Is I can't wait to see how many people's going to be there. Brand new stadium, for UAB.
Oh, yeah.
I think they'll fill it up pretty good, and it's just going to be an interesting experience. Being there for the first game of a new league.
And with the ticket prices cheap, it'll be good for everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, their price so cheap. You could bring the whole family and not
Yep.
be out anywhere near $100. So I think
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good thing.
Well, when you take into account how much NFL tickets are and other leagues, man, you can't
Right.
take a family hardly.
No, I mean, you look at this past Super Bowl. You had tickets that was like $8,000. And
Mm,
and I know that's a Super Bowl, but even like for a regular season game, you're spending $100 a ticket at least,
oh, yeah.
and you might just be
Well, if you
parking. You know,
well, like if you go to the Preds game, it's like $80 easy a ticket or more,
right? And you're not
and
by
that's
the
during the
glass,
week, not on weekend. No.
right? So you know, I think the USFL has a lot going for it. I think
Yeah.
the fan control football league's got a lot going for it. It's a different kind of thing. they funded a lot of stuff with NFTs, which I don't know anything
Mm,
about. Being a hillbilly from Alabama, don't
yes.
know much about that stuff.
I know they're making some money off of it.
Well, yeah, yeah, and they've got celebrities invested in it. They have ownership.
Mm,
So you would imagine they want to make some money. The best way to make some money is to put a good product out. You know,
oh yeah. Well, it's something
and
different too.
yeah, and with the X League, I know very little, so I'm excited to learn about that one for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that'll be pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, especially since they got that Sony deal and will be on some of the Sony streaming channels.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty good.
that's going to be the key with all these leagues is getting some kind of TV penetration.
Mm,
USFL's got NBC and Fox. Well, those are broadcast TV. So if you have an antenna,
yeah,
you can pick up this game. And that means that theoretically millions of people will be watching.
yeah. And with streaming, you can see what the numbers are pretty quick, I guess, on these platforms.
Right. I mean, like usually like with television markets and stuff, like I know like with professional wrestling, like their ratings are going to take at least a couple of days to get back, you know.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, like you said, with streaming, you can almost count it down to the second. Like how many people is
oh,
pulling this down to the hour.
oh. And it gives people a chance that miss it on TV to come back and rewatch.
Right. I mean, and that's a big deal. Nowadays we have DVRs and stuff. Back, especially in my younger days, we had VCRs. You know, and you're a little bit older than me, so I
Mm.
know you know all about the old VCR days.
Oh yeah, you buy that 20 pack of blank VHS tapes just to
Right. And
record games.
like I said, with my age group, we come in at the tail end of that. As we got about to the age where we could use them, it was more DVDs and stuff. But even
Yeah,
like DVRs and stuff, that stuff come along when I was pretty much in my 20s. So
yeah, yeah. The funnest part was trying to get the DVD recorders where you could record the
yeah,
DVD from TV.
right, which was expensive. Which so were VCRs when they first came out
Mm,
too. But
yeah, but that was the way you wanted to watch it again. That's the way you had to do it.
oh yeah, I mean you had to make sure that VCR was programmed that way you can make sure the time was right to record your show.
Oh yeah, and if this game went over, you wasn't getting it all.
No, I mean it's not like with a DVR and you could record the show after just in case.
Yeah.
Especially like with the last couple of weeks of the NFL. Either the game went into overtime or and you would have needed that extra time to record it. So.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
Wayne,
you
let's
had to
go ahead
set it
and
for about 15 minutes afterwards.
yeah. But Wayne, let's go ahead and talk about some news just around the sports world. I think you got one story you want to read about, or a couple.
Yeah, looking at the MLB with their start date of the season, you got to really think, is that going to put more fans on the USFL too?
It could. I mean, like just people who want sports. I mean, the only thing going right now is hockey and the NBA. So
Mhm. And with that, that could hurt the MLB initially and put more fans towards the USFL.
right. And with the MLB, they might be shut out at the season because they're going to have maybe a strike.
Mm. And then you have Sam Mills getting elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who was a former USFL football player.
Right.
He played for the Stars and Philadelphia and Baltimore, and he's getting that nod to go into Canton. So, but he's
And you love to
already
see
in the
that.
Saints. Oh yeah, especially somebody that was off the field leader like he was,
Right.
and just because he was already in the Saints Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor, whatever you want to call it, and then the Panthers is the same. So he's
Yeah.
been noticed by his teams before.
Right, and he was somebody I didn't know about until I saw his name come across as being elected to the Hall of Fame, and then we done a little research for him since we're obviously doing a spring league football podcast. It's perfect timing for us. But yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you can't get into Ring of Honors for two separate teams unless you're important and
yeah,
noteworthy. So not only was he obviously a good player, but he was probably a better coach,
yeah,
and that's probably what got him in the NFL or the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
yeah. Well, I can remember him from whenever I was younger from collecting football cards.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that because like collecting cards, like him being a linebacker, he had some pretty good cards.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and that's back when the NFL and stuff, and even the USFL. They hit people and they hit people hard.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, then too, and then you got to think this was like 95, 96, so the Panthers were a new team. So
right.
getting their cards was something pretty awesome, being a new
Right.
team back then.
Exactly. I mean, an expansion team that didn't do a lot. Them first couple of years, it took them a while, which most
Yeah,
expansion teams it does.
yeah.
So, but
That's back during the Kerry Collins days.
right, yeah, Delhomme, all them guys. But as we record this, the Super Bowl happened just yesterday, and I know it's not a spring league, but it's news and noteworthy. And the Los Angeles Rams beat the Bengals 23-20. Cooper Kupp named the Super Bowl MVP. Cooper Kupp's a player who, coming out of high school, was unranked, 0 stars out of
Mhm.
out of college, excuse me, 0 star recruit from Eastern Washington, and has proved to be a difference maker, especially for the Rams and stuff. He had a fantastic season, which the Bengals did too.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, defied the odds, and nobody thought that team would be where they were. And pretty much it was because of him and his wide receiving core.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of disappointing because I was so hoping for the Bengals to win it though.
Oh, yeah, me too. I think, the teams never won a Super Bowl. They played in a few. They got killed by the 49ers, in the late 80s or whatever, I think. And, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
the Rams have won a Super Bowl, with Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf back in the day when they were in St. Louis. But it's good to see, I think, for like Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl. I mean, he played
Oh yeah.
all them years in Detroit, and just not good teams. And Aaron Donald on the defensive side, he's played for Los Angeles since they drafted him, and he's a fantastic player, and I think he deserved it. So, like I said, I didn't really have a horse in the race, but I thought it was a good game. Bengals had the lead right there to the end, and the Rams went on a 15-play drive that ended in a touchdown, and barely any time left, and the Bengals just couldn't score, couldn't come back.
Yeah, the only good part about the Rams winning was Stafford showed he belonged.
Yeah, he always put up good numbers. He would throw for 5,000 yards just about every year, but
Yeah.
for some
And
reason,
tough.
yeah, tough too, because he would play through injuries, and you don't play 12 years in the league without playing through some injuries.
Oh yeah.
And but like I said, them Detroit teams just never, couldn't beat Green Bay. They're in the same division, but still, they probably could have done more with what they had than what they did.
Oh yeah. But you got to think that's probably organization, not players.
Right, exactly. I mean, it definitely started at the top for them,
Yeah.
um, with their GM and
Well,
stuff and player selection.
with Stafford winning it shows that it wasn't the players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's probably other players that played on them Detroit teams that have won Super Bowls, but
Oh yeah.
Stafford being the quarterback, he's the one that everybody's going to know, and he's an SEC guy, played at Georgia. We're Alabama fans, but you got to root for the SEC.
Yeah. You got to give them all the credit you can because this is the best league.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the national championship game this year. Yeah, Alabama didn't play the best game, but they were still in it, and that makes a lot of people mad. So
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Bama hate.
oh yeah, well, when you win all the time, that's what happens. So because it happened with Tom Brady too. I mean, the man's got 7 Super Bowls, played in 10. He was a starter for 20 years, and half the time he was a starter, he was in a Super Bowl. So
Well, if you look back on whenever we were younger, USC back with who was it, Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and
oh yeah, Pete
Leon
Carroll,
White.
yeah, Pete
No,
Carroll's coach. And they were dominant. You look at Texas that one year with Vince Young,
mm,
and then
and how
like,
much we hated them back then.
oh Lord, yeah. I mean, and it wasn't long after that Vince Young, national championship win that it was rolling with the SEC. After that,
Mm,
because Florida come on, and then LSU, then Florida again, then Alabama started their run. So,
yeah,
but on our upcoming events, on February 22nd and 23rd, the USFL will be holding their player selection meeting, which is their draft. We will be covering the results of what we can next week, as far as their quarterback selections for sure.
yeah.
On February 22nd, the X League will be announcing its schedule for the 2022 season. And on February 26th, Fan Control Football League will be hosting a tryout in Atlanta. Player requirements: you've got to be over 18 years old, you've got to be a U.S. citizen, you must be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Um, Also, collegiate and professional experience um, is encouraged. You obviously want to know something about football and have played a little bit, semi-pro, whatever. Uh,
Mm,
Basic daily tryouts will be, if I can read my notes, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for registration. 9:30 to 11:30 will be station testing, which includes the 40-yard dash, shuttles, broad jump, and other examples. And at 11:30 to 3 p.m. will be position drills, which is for pretty much everybody that's going to be non
yeah.
stars. It's going to be your offensive linemen, stuff like that. But Wayne, what are you looking forward to next week when the USFL holds their draft?
Just kind of seeing how the teams are going to play out, seeing who goes where.
And that's a
You
big
can
deal
kind of
because right now we don't know anything virtually.
you can you can see a few draft pools of players that's registered, especially if you get on Twitter, but there's nothing definite yet.
Right. And we've got all the coaches and stuff locked down, so we'll be talking about them on a later episode too, just trying to
Oh
review
yeah,
some of their past history. And there's some big name coaches. I mean, it's not like they just hired, the water boys off these NFL teams. They hired people that's got experience and people that have, winning experience. They know how to win football games.
oh yeah. Sumlin, uh, Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher, Todd Haley,
Mm,
he was with the Steelers forever. It felt
in
like,
Kansas City.
yeah, in Kansas City, he was the head coach. Yeah,
Yep. And Sumlin beat Alabama. One of the
right,
few coaches to do that.
right. There's a lot of coaches that that had there's not a lot of coaches that has beat Alabama, and that you can almost count them on one hand, for sure.
Well,
Especially you know,
I think since 2007, which Saban had his first year, that wasn't
it wasn't
the
the best,
greatest transition. No,
right,
transition year, but I think if you include that one, there's only been 18 coaches.
right,
And if you
and
take out that 7 season, it goes down a little bit.
oh yeah, and like that just shows you the winning tradition Saban's installed at Alabama. If you don't want
Oh,
to be a
yeah.
part of his plan, he'll make sure you're not there. So
Oh, yeah. And gets recruits every year.
Right. We reload every year, and we constantly
Yeah.
put players in the NFL, and more than likely we'll be putting players in the USFL.
Well, there's already one that's in the pool, so we'll have to see if he gets drafted next week.
Right. I imagine a lot. The majority of these guys will probably get signed, at least to the practice
Mm,
squad, because they've got to have players, and
yeah.
I don't think anybody thinks the football plays on the field will be up to par with what the NFL does just because the league's starting out this year. But I bet you we see a few games this year that will impress us.
Oh yeah. You ain't got to have big names. You just got to have some good talent.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to have people who have had experience right
Mm,
now, and like I said, years from now, you can get players, maybe out of high school, and build your league that way, and mix them
yeah.
in with the veteran talent. And I think that might be something USFL does to stand out,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which direction they take it.
especially with the XFL coming next year. We know even less about it,
Yeah.
but we know that Dwayne the Rock Johnson is the owner, and usually everything he touches is successful. So we have to imagine that it will be.
Yeah, just going to be waiting on the news for a year to see what happens with it.
Right. And I thought it was a little odd because like he opened the Super Bowl yesterday,
Yeah.
and like it almost makes me believe the XFL and the NFL will be working together. And I don't know if it's going to be some sort of developmental league or what it's going to be, similar to maybe the D League and the NBA.
Yeah. Well, competition always brings out the best in everybody, so maybe it will the leagues too.
Well, for sure. I mean, that's why these spring leagues are so good because it's going to compete with the NFL, even though they're not playing in the same season. People
Yeah.
will probably, there'll be people that will love the USFL more than they love the NFL.
Oh yeah, especially like people down here in Birmingham.
Exactly. Like, it's exciting to have a pro team in Alabama.
Hmm. One of the 30 that's passed through there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's exciting to have one for however long they're here, so,
Yeah.
but, the good thing
Like the
is,
iron.
yeah, the good thing is they've got a new stadium. It probably doesn't hold, a ton of people, but they're not playing at
It's
Legion Field, you know.
I'm wanting to say Protective holds what is it, 47,000?
Yeah, I know it's your mid-level college stadium.
Yeah.
It's not Alabama, nothing like that, but you
Which
know,
is a nice stadium.
yeah, I can't wait to go. You've actually been. I can't wait
Yeah.
to get down there on the first game.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice. I mean, it's nothing like Legion Field was.
Right. I mean, Legion Field is historic, but it's falling
Yeah.
apart. They've taken bleachers out of the stands, just to help it out because UAB couldn't sell out the stadium,
Yeah. Well,
for sure.
you go to Legion for the history of games, and you go to Protective for the, I guess, the new,
The current
yeah,
games, yeah,
the technology.
right, yeah. I mean, I know plenty of people who have went to Legion Field to watch Alabama and Auburn play, from
Mm,
years gone by, and they talk about that stadium, very fondly, even though
yes.
it's falling to pieces. That's
Yeah.
its issues. So
But once you get there, it's like time travel. It takes you back.
right. I mean, you feel like you can almost experience all the past games when you're down there.
Mm, oh yeah,
So
there's a lot in both stadiums. It's good and bad. So
right. But Wayne, I think we're going to wrap up this pilot
yeah,
episode. This is going to be episode 0. We'll join us next week when we actually release episode 1. It will be covering the USFL draft, their player selection meeting. More than likely, we will cover at least the quarterbacks that each team drafted, and we'll talk about any news and highlights that have happened or anything special that has come up in the USFL or the X League or the Fan Control Football League, next week's episode will be dropping 7 days from now, the next Friday. And you can check us out right now on Spotify and Anchor. And the video show will be on YouTube. And we thank you for joining us, and check us out next time.